What's up, everybody? It's me. It's the Outlaw, John Roca, doing the chill intro that Christian Harloff does. What's up, guys? How's it going? Welcome to the Christian Harloff Show. I'm John Roca. Today, I'm flying solo, riding solo with you all, hanging out with me. I've just been told that I'm handling everything today, so bear with me. I'm going to be putting up all the articles, pulling up all the ads, and talking Star Wars, Marvel, James Bond, Harry Potter, and anything else you all with your minds want to talk about. I'm all for it here on the Christian Harloff Show. So let's not waste any time. Let's get this thing going. I'll be right back right after we play this little opening here for the Christian Harloff Show as soon as I find it, because I wasn't told I was doing this myself. So let me see if I can find the video, and then we can start from there. And I think this might be it. Yo, all right. It is the Christian Harloff Show. It is the Outlaw, John Roca. How you doing? I'm showered. I got the hair done. I got the office set up. I'm ready. I got a new little jacket on. I'm ready to go today. It is me riding solo. Christian Harloff is off on a vacation. I am producing this thing. I'm doing the technical aspect of it all. So I ask for your patience as we go along here. But of course, right off the bat, please remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to Christian Harloff's channel yet. If maybe you're stumbling upon this for the first time, we're going to be talking some Star Wars stuff. We're going to be talking some James Bond stuff, some Harry Potter stuff, some Marvel stuff. I think I've got all the articles that I can pull up here. And we'll go through each of them and hear from all of you. But of course, super chats are open as well. Send them in as we're going along. We have 3 right now to start off with. Would love to get to 100 by the end of the show. And this is going to be a, open show, a chill show, a fun show. Let's talk about everything going on in the world of entertainment. Let's talk about what you want to talk about. What's on your mind? What's been bugging you over the weekend? What are you desperate to talk about in terms of the world of geekdom and nerddom, film, television, what have you? Let me know. Send it in a super chat, and I will bring it up and talk about it. And of course, I'm looking at you, PLD. I don't even know if PLD is watching. PLD, send in 30 super chats. That's your job today. Send in 30 super chats to help us get over the line. And Derek Johnson, if you're watching, help us get over the line as well. So yeah, no Christian today, but I really appreciate you all hanging out with me. I appreciate it. It's going to be a lot of fun here talking about all this stuff. So let's get to it here. We almost have 200 of you hanging out right now. Let me see. Let me bring this up. Let's start over. Let's see if I can do this correctly. Let's start with the first story here. What do we have? Where is it? It's going to be talking about stuff that's going on in the Star Wars Underworld situation. There's a big news that is the thumbnail that we dropped right off the bat. So I want to make sure I pull up the Dark Horizons article that we're going to use to talk about it. And as I said, I'm doing this all myself, so please be patient with me if I stumble through how I bring up this article on screen so you all can see it. So let's see how I can do that here. Share the screen. Which one is it? This one? Yeah, I think it's this one. All right, now let's see how I am looking on the screen. All right, we want to do a bigger shot here. No, that's not it. Is that it? Is that the best we can do? I guess that's the best we can do. Maybe I make it a little bit bigger. There we go. Let me make it a little bit bigger here on my end so you guys can see it. All right, there we go. Let's read it through. McCallum reflects on Star Wars Underworld. Is coming to us from the fine folks over there at Dark Horizons. In late 2019 came the launch of The Mandalorian, the first live-action Star Wars series to grace the screen, in a series that had to utilize the then revolutionary StageCraft video wall technology in order to be able to pull it all off. Even then, the show was fairly costly, coming in at $15 million per episode. It was subsequently beaten by Andor, which reportedly costs more, but it's not clear by how much. Both shows would have easily been beaten to the title of the most expensive Star Wars series had earlier small screen plans for the franchise gone through. Before Disney acquired Lucasfilm, filmmaker George Lucas was working on a TV series titled Star Wars Underworld, which was set in the period between the prequel and original trilogies. At the time, it was said that around 50 or 60 scripts were being written, with the plan being for multiple seasons of the show, which was primarily set on Coruscant. Concerns over costs led to the series and the related Star Wars 1313 video game to be shelved. All we got out of it was some test footage, which leaked a few years ago. I saw that footage again. It's about 10 minutes. Gizmodo did a great breakdown of the footage years ago when it first leaked, and I reread their article on it and looked at the footage all over again. Now, former Star Wars franchise producer Rick McCallum, you guys remember him working with George Lucas way back in the day, recently shared new details on the series in an interview for the Young Indie Chronicles podcast via the sffgazette.com, and revealed that each episode would have cost a minimum of $40 million to produce, meaning an overall 60-episode budget of $2.4 billion. Woo! Woo! He said, quote, "I think we had over 60 scripts, third draft scripts. Again, the most wonderful writers in the world on it. And again, we created exactly the same experience for everybody at Skywalker Ranch. And again, just a phenomenal group of talent. And these were dark. They were sexy. They were violent. They were just absolutely wonderful. Wonderful, complicated, challenging. I mean, it would have blown up the whole Star Wars universe, and Disney definitely would have never offered George to buy it. But it's one of the great disappointments of our life. The problem was each episode was bigger than the films. So the lowest I could get it down to with the technology that existed then was about 40 million an episode. In addition, the plan had been for John Williams to score each episode. That I didn't know about. I'd forgotten about. That's a pretty awesome thing back then. Previously, writer and producer Ronald D. Moore, who worked on Battlestar Galactica and Star Trek Deep Space Nine, indicated the show had an overarching series long arc combined with episodic events. He also said writers really had no budget constraints and so went, quote, crazy and big. Lucasfilm hasn't made any moves towards resurrecting the series since the Disney acquisition. Those scripts simply locked away from the public for now. So that's a lot to consume. And to get this information about this Star Wars Underworld, because I remember back when I was at Collider, this is something that I had heard about, and I think we were gonna do it on a movie talk, or we were gonna talk about it on one of the Jedi Council shows. But I stumbled upon it and had no idea that this had actually been going and was going to go after the prequels. I mean, 60 scripts. And as you said, third draft scripts, which means they had some serious development on these episodes and on these scripts and where they were going to go. And it seems like Rick McCallum and Lucas wanted to go in a certain direction that mirrors a little bit of Andor and Mandalorian combined. I'm just using the quote here: sexy, violent, complicated, challenging. That's not your typical Star Wars that you see that you see in the original trilogy or some of the other stuff. Like, it doesn't mean that there isn't complicated, challenging, or violent stuff. I mean, people getting their hands cut off, people getting killed. Certainly that is part of the original trilogy and, of course, part of the sequel trilogy. But the idea here that they wanted to go sexy and violent, this veers more towards the R-rated type of stuff. Not that they would go fully R-rated, but this feeling and the amount of money they wanted to spend per show. This almost feels like this is Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones. This is House of the Dragon before House of the Dragon, or even The Last of Us, which had that awesome new trailer they dropped over the weekend for season 2, having that element to it, right? And so you wonder what kind of Star Wars, what story? I mean, I think Boba Fett was, George Lucas made some offhand comment that he wanted Boba Fett to be the lead of the show. So that would have been interesting. But I have always been excited about this show. Oh, so let me put it back. So I've always been excited about this show, Little Roca, exactly. Because I like the idea of it being, dark. I'm a big fan of the Andor stuff. I like that approach to Star Wars. I know not everybody likes that approach to Star Wars, and certainly seems like what Christian has been saying at times, that not even Filoni likes that approach to Star Wars. So it's not everybody's cup of tea to go dark, violent, and sexy is interesting, because if you guys remember, there was a lot of pushback and a lot of blowback on Star Trek. Was it Discovery? Yeah, when the Klingon was having sex and people were like, we don't want to see that. So what kind of sexiness would you see in this show? Does he mean sexy like it'd be slick and cool and people would think it's fun? Or does he mean sexy like we'd actually see some sex, some relationships happening, nudity possibly in Star Wars. Would we see stuff like that? I'm curious about it all. So just an interesting approach. And I wonder why he's talking about it now. I'm sure he's been asked about it over the years numerous times. And I wonder if this is a way of maybe putting it out there as a possible new regime is on the horizon. Even Kathy Kennedy in her defensive interview on Deadline made it really clear that they do have a transition team or a process in place. So is the new person coming in, is this maybe McCallum kind of hinting at the possibility of exploring this? We're also on the precipice of Andor coming out here in just a few weeks, so which is considered darker, more adult, more mature Star Wars. Is there an opening for that? So there's a lot of questions here when you look at the commentary here. So Shelf says, LOL, the original Star Wars has two crispy crittered aunt uncle laying in the middle of the desert. There's some violence in the yeah, but it's from it's not, you're not watching them screaming, burning to death as they become little small crispy human beings on the ground. That's more like, oh, we spoke, oh, you saw the image or whatever. It's not quite the same thing. And so that's what I mean by a little bit more of the violence. Would we see more of the brutal violence and what have you? And even Andor isn't brutally violent. There are violent moments, but they're not brutally violent. So would we see, is this an R-rated Star Wars that they were pitching? Is this where Lucas wanted to go with it, to explore the darker edges of Star Wars, to show that Star Wars could be even more mature? Because I mean, bringing in trade federations, bringing in these complicated political machinations into the prequel trilogy, I sense that Lucas wanted to, expand what Star Wars could be, expand where it could go. I mean, maybe he's seeing Scorsese and Spielberg and his other contemporaries doing much more adult fare in terms of the maturity and violence and sex and sexiness and what have you. And maybe he wanted to expand the brand a little bit more, explore what could be done after the prequel trilogy. And, so those of us who are around of a certain age remember that wasn't the most well-received trilogy. Certainly now people love it. And the young people have grown up and are now a loud voice in the Star Wars fandom in defending those prequel trilogies and saying how great they are. And so you open the door to the possibility of what kind of Star Wars would you have had if you had gone this route with the darkness, with the sexiness, with the violence. It's very interesting. And looking at the Gizmodo article, that was breaking this thing down as well. Let me see if I want to pick some things out here. Yeah, and also the idea of $40 million an episode, that's massive. That is a lot of money you're spending. And that's $40 million that McCallum is looking at. Maybe he's adjusting for money now. Maybe he's giving you $40 million now is what it would be. But if he's talking about $40 million back then, you could add probably another 5 to 10 million on how much these things would cost if they had done it nowadays, which really, I don't know any studio that would have been excited to do this money-wise, because again, Star Wars, the prequel trilogy, was not that well received overall from the people at the time. Not talking about the kids who were there who are now fans, but like certainly most of the adult, or from what I remember, most of the adult people weren't the biggest fan of those prequel trilogies. The reviews weren't that good, and so you had this feeling that Star Wars was not good, and there was such a pushback here. But I wonder his point here: would they have sold? I like this line or the sentence. I mean, it would have blown up the whole Star Wars universe. So what's that? I would have blown up the whole Star Wars universe, and Disney definitely would have never offered George to buy it. So that to me makes me think that they really wanted to make this thing much more adult and mature and go towards the R rating. And that would have limited the studios that would have wanted to buy it, right? I mean, I don't think Disney, I think McCallum is onto something when he says, I don't know if Disney would have offered George to buy it, because if you're expanding Star Wars to make it violent now, make it brutal, make it have some sexiness to it, possibly nudity or sex scenes in the show, then it's a whole different type of Star Wars and a whole different type of brand than what we're used to. So it would have been interesting. I mean, this is kind of the biggest what if in the Star Wars universe, isn't it? Like, what would have happened if they had been able to get this show off the ground? Would this have changed people's points of views of Star Wars? Would this have affected Clone Wars in any way? Would this have affected all of these other things that came afterwards? But clearly the public seemed to like they needed to catch up to it eventually. And then we got Mandalorian and we got Andor and we got these other series that have come out, and of course it's varying degrees of how much people like them or not. But I think it's a interesting thing to consider. It's a great what if, right? I mean, that's some of the things that we love about entertainment is the what ifs. What if George Miller had been able to do his Justice League? What if that Adrian Palicki Wonder Woman had come out, and what would have been the response overall fully, like the whole season? What if these things had happened, right? Even what would have happened if Doug Ray Scott doesn't get hurt on the set of Mission Impossible 2 and he's our Wolverine and not Hugh Jackman? What if, right? So there's some great what ifs when you talk about the world of nerddom and geekdom that I think is a lot of fun to consider. But this one is one of the big ones in the Star Wars universe, because how much would this have changed? And if this had been successful, as McCallum says, does George not sell to Disney? Or if he does sell it, does he sell it at a much higher price than what he ended up selling it for? Or does this reinvigorate him and now put him even more at the center of the Star Wars universe and wanting to do more and attract other writers, attract other directors, attract the best production people to bring this thing to life? So there's a lot of questions that come through with this kind of stuff. So it would have been interesting to see for sure. Yeah, definitely not Andor. Right, exactly. Yeah. And so it would have been interesting to see how what we would have seen for sure. We'd have been in a. I can't see Doug. We'd have been on our third Wolverine actor by now had that happen. Yeah, I don't know. You never know with this stuff. You never know with this. But what do you all think about it? What would you have wanted to see? Would you have wanted to see like we get in Mandalorian? We do have a Grief Karga is running a crew of assassins, a crew of hitmen in essence, or bounty hunters, right? But like they are out there trying to collect their bounties, and they're possibly killing people, they're possibly hurting people, taking people away from their families, what have you. So would you have wanted to see a Star Wars that had more of a grittier edge to it, had more of like broken glass, barbed wire type of approach? Do you think we were ready for it back then? That's a good question too. Like, would we have been ready for it, or would people have felt that this was a desperate attempt by George Lucas after the prequels to change the narrative about Star Wars and try to go more adult? And nothing says that even if this series got done, that it would have been done in a way that people would have loved, right? There's no guarantee, because as I said, people were pretty upset at George Lucas for the prequel trilogy. And people who want to retcon that time, it's true. People were very upset. It's what ended up leading to George selling Star Wars to Disney. He was just done with all the negative reactions people were having and just didn't want to deal with it, and thought maybe someone else could do a better job of it, or could do a different job with it and bring it back. And to a degree, you could argue that they did. Disney and Kathleen Kennedy brought Star Wars back into the pop culture mainstream even more strongly, and with, again, varying results of success. But certainly people talk about Star Wars now massively. How many of these YouTube channels are existing because of Star Wars, because of how Star Wars got sold to Disney, and Disney put all the new trilogy in motion, put all these shows out. There's a lot. So, it would have been interesting to see what those 60 episodes would have brought us, what new characters we would have gotten, what darker edges of the universe we could have explored. Because those of you who've read the books and you've read the comic books, you've seen how these authors go to these other areas of the Star Wars universe, and you've seen how dark these stories can get in those novels and in those comic books, and even to a degree some of the animated series. There have been some allusions to some really dark moments and dark situations there in the Star Wars universe. So what if they had gone that route with these 60 scripts, so to speak, these 60 episodes, which probably would have been changed and honed and edited and what have you. But the idea of an overarching storyline and then episodic stuff that's very similar to what we did end up getting in The Mandalorian. And George sold the Star Wars franchise to Disney, but it wasn't like Kathleen Kennedy didn't call up George, or people of Dave Filoni or people who were involved didn't call up George Lucas and ask him, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So I wouldn't be surprised if George brought up the Underworld series in talking to people there who were involved in the Star Wars Disney stuff when it popped off. So very interesting stuff. Would have been a lot of fun to see overall what would have happened. I would have been excited to see what new characters we would have gotten. And also that's that time, right, when people were really kind of looking for something grittier to hold on to. The Sopranos was around the early 2000s, right? The Wire was around that time. So there was this edge. Breaking Bad, there was this edge in the mid 2000s, I think. So there was this desire for this kind of stuff. So I think it would have been interesting to see if Star Wars could have captured the pop culture zeitgeist with a much more adult-oriented, violent, sexy, complicated, challenging, as the words that McCallum used to describe it, series. It would have been fascinating to see that for sure. Oop. Sorry about that. Getting a little call. Roka, can we get a list of the books in your background? I'd love to check them out. There's so many, y'all. All of these are the Star Wars books from Del Rey. I think I've got, is this Ken's book? No, this is the Taylor book. This is the How Star Wars Conquered the Universe. If you haven't read that book, it's an excellent book. Oh, there we go. And they all fell. Of course they fell because I'm reaching back behind myself. I'm going to stop doing that. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you being interested in those books. All right. So anyway, that's the story there on that one. Would love to hear what you guys think. Send in your super chats. We're only at 9. I would love to get up to at least 50 or 70 super chats as I'm riding solo. Send in some love to me as I go along here. And let me know what you think about all the stuff that's going on that we're talking about here on the show. All right, is there anything else I want to throw out here about this story? I'm looking at the Forbes write-up here that Paul Tassi wrote. Paul does a really great job breaking stuff down. I don't always agree with Paul's opinions, but I like his thorough exploration of stuff. So, yeah, the most eye-popping aspect is that these episodes are going to be $40 million to $20 million per episode series is the standard now. John Williams coming in to score it, I think. How many new awesome John Williams things would we have gotten if they had gone forward with this? That would have been interesting. And another aspect of this that I didn't mention here, and the Forbes article points this out, HBO was the only network even possibly entertaining this, but there was ultimately just no way at that price. A weird twist was that Lucas was set to have a meeting with HBO CEO Chris Albrecht at Skywalker Ranch, but a day before, Albrecht was arrested for assault, if you guys remember, and HBO later forced him to resign. So maybe there was a deal that could have been in motion, but was not because of the accusations of assault, and Albrecht was eventually forced to resign. For those of you who are sports fans, you remember Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson were originally set to fight before Mike Tyson was accused and then eventually convicted and jailed for rape. And so a lot of people feel like the Evander Holyfield-Mike Tyson fight was years too late because the one they were working on before he was accused, indicted, and convicted, that was going to be when both of them were in their younger prime. And that would have been an amazing fight to see. So maybe a little bit the situation has some connective similarities here in that Chris Albrecht being accused of assault, and forced to resign. What if Albrecht had not done this and not been forced to resign and had maybe worked out a deal with with Lucas to put this up? Again, a great what if overall for this series, but maybe someday they'll come back to it because I think there is a huge amount of interest for a much more mature adult Star Wars. I don't know if they go with Dave Filoni as the new replacement for Kathleen Kennedy, that we get that kind of Star Wars. Because from what Christian has alluded to, and I've heard from other people, he's not the biggest fan of that approach to Star Wars. So, which is ironic, because George Lucas was clearly working on something with Rick McCallum that was supposedly dark, sexy, violent, complicated, and challenging. So questions abound. We will see as things go on and who takes over Star Wars and what approach they have. We got a ways to go with something like that. But anyway, we've got some ads to get to here on the show. So I'm going to play some ads for you all from Robinhood, from Trade, and from Factor. These are from a couple of weeks ago, but we're going to put them up here. And we'll be right back right after these ads. Send in your super chats. During these ads. I want to hear from you. And we'll be right back right after this.
Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account. Interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
There you go. Great stuff there. Robinhood, pretty awesome people here. Let's keep it going. Let's move on to some trade stuff.
All right, coffee drinkers. I'm sure you're like me. I start the morning and I need my coffee. I got to have 2 cups. That's what I do. Leave me alone. Don't bother me until I have my coffee. And for the longest time, I kept saying, I don't know. I don't like that bag of coffee. I don't like that one. That one's just decent. I have not been like that in a long time because I discovered Trade. And once I did, I'll never go back. It is a coffee subscription service that delivers freshly roasted coffee straight to my door. I love it. Trade is the #1 U.S. specialty coffee marketplace. It brings you fresh coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Every bag is roasted to order. You'll taste it. You smell the difference from your very first cup. It just lights up the room. I'm telling you, this is so fresh. I feel like a coffee connoisseur now after being with Trade for so long. I just dig the different kind of blends. There's things that I thought I would never like that I've tried and now I love. And you have such a great menu and things you can just browse on their site, and they'll fit it right to your taste. It's brilliant. I love Trade. You guys know I do. I rave about it. It's like Christmas time every time I talk about Trade. Now, Trade is exclusively offering our listeners 40% off your first order at drinktrade.com/Christian. Did you hear what I just said? That's drinktrade, TRAD.com/Christian for 40% off your first order. Drinktrade.com/Christian. Do not miss out on Trade. You will thank me for it. I promise. I've really been making fitness a priority lately, and I want to make sure that my nutrition is part of that. So I've been getting Factor, man. And Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating pretty easy. They're dietitian approved, and they're ready to heat in 2 minutes, so you can fuel up right then and there, no matter what life throws at you. The great thing about Factor, it arrives fresh and is fully prepared. It's perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. I can tell you it's been an absolute lifestyle changer for me. It's got over 40 options across 8 dietary performances on the menu each week. It's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. You can reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. So you want to eat smart with Factor. You get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use the code Factor Podcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That is code Factor Podcast at factormeals.com/Factor Podcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Factor.
There you go, everybody. Factor. Good stuff. If you haven't ordered Factor, I mean, definitely try it. It's good stuff. I've done it before. It's so convenient when you're working, when you're doing a lot of stuff. You know me. I'm jumping show to show. I'm always working on shows, working on content. I got all this stuff going on. So it's super important to be able to eat healthy while you're doing that. And Factor has so many different um, uh, meals there that will help you feel full and move on to the next thing you're doing in your day. And don't discount how important food is. The energy you need to get through your day, it's very important. And as some of you getting older, you're starting to understand this, right? You're starting to understand how important food is, how important sleep is, how important these things are. You talk about coffee, trade coffee, another thing too. If you need that, you got to get some good stuff inside of you. It's going to wake you up. Trade coffee. That's the thing with multiple different flavors, multiple different approaches. It's good stuff. Another thing is you get older as well as the finances. Robinhood helping you out with your finances. These are all important things. I know I saw Calvin saying more stuff I don't need. Calvin, we all need it. We all need good financial advice, a good financial setup for ourselves. We all need some, well, not we all, but a lot of people need some good coffee that they enjoy at a good price that they can rely on to be there for them in the morning, and good food to help you get through the day. It's very important because not all of us can cook. Speaking for a lot of the men in the audience, not all of us can cook the amazing meals. It helps to have something like Factor on your side. All right, there you go. That's my addition to these kinds of things. So, all right. Anyway, moving on to some box office stuff before we get to some meteor stories here. I want to talk about the box office. Let's get into it here. Mickey 17, and let's see if I've got the right look overall here. Again, I'm doing this all on my own. So let me, which is the right one? I'm sorry, guys. There we go. All right. So that's the one I need to focus on. I will know that going forward in this situation. All right. Let me bring up this box office thing and take a look at it. We can have a conversation about it all here. Where's here we go. Okay. Sorry. Let's make it bigger. All right. So the box office misfire, big budget. Mickey 17 stumbles with $24 million overseas, $53 million globally. Let's see. If only Warner Brothers could reprint money in the way that scientists reprint Robert Pattinson's body in Mickey 17, the goofy sci-fi comedy ignited to $24 million overseas and more than $50 million globally. A decent start for an original film in the current theatrical landscape. It just cost way too much to ever turn a profit in this lifetime. Wow, that's a hell of a statement. The R-rated movie directed by Bong Joon-ho and starring Robert Pattinson opened on February 20th in Korea and has since grossed $34.2 million overseas and $53.3 million globally. Those ticket sales include a muted $19.1 million debut in North America. Credit to Bong, known for acclaimed films like Best Picture winner Parasite and Snowpiercer, and Pattinson, the A-lister who has navigated blockbuster franchises like Twilight, Harry Potter, and The Batman, in between a smattering of indies for opening Mickey above $50 million. It's an impressive launch for a fresh, offbeat space odyssey about a disposable employee whose body is able to regenerate for science. Here's the problem, though. Warner Brothers granted a head-scratching $118 million to spend on production. I guess replicating Pattinson doesn't come cheap, and another $80 million on marketing. So that's $200 million in essence that they've spent on this movie. Had Mickey 17 cost, say, $50 million, nothing for an R-rated social satire with an art house sheen, the film would be well positioned at this point in its theatrical run. Yet, given the movie's economics, Mickey 17 needs to turn around $275 to $300 million globally to get into the black during its big screen run, according to rival executives with knowledge of similar productions. It has touched down in nearly every major theatrical market. Top earning territories include Korea with $14.6 million after 2 weekends of release, followed by France with $2.9 million to start, and the UK with $2.7 million to start. The film flopped in China with $1.3 million in its debut. IMAX, Dolby, and other premium large formats accounted for 47% of opening weekend ticket sales. As the audience scores and reviews have been mixed, with a B grade on Cinema Score and 79% on Rotten Tomatoes. The film also stars Stephen Yeun, Naomi Eki, Toni Collette, and Mark Ruffalo in a controversial role. Elsewhere at the box office, Disney's Marvel Adventure, Captain America Brave New World, hit 9.2 million for 52 territories. The superhero sequel will end the weekend with 194 million domestically and 370.8 million worldwide. A solid tally, except like Mickey 17, its outsized price tag will make it difficult to forge a path to profitability. That's for sure. I mean, that's legitimate when it comes to Captain America: Brave New World. That's a lot. I said on the hot mic with Jeff when it first debuted and the numbers came in that I was going to be surprised if this thing crossed 500. I'm after the reactions, even more so a few days later, I amended my statement in my mind that I would be surprised if it crossed 400. So the fact that it's getting close to 400 is a bit of a surprise. But the Mickey 17 situation, I mean, I like the movie, but I knew when I came out of the film that it was going to be a divisive film. I knew that a lot of people were either going to love it or hate it. And if those of you who follow me on social media, at The Roca Says, John Flickinger and I had a bit of a back and forth about our feelings on the film and the Mark Ruffalo character. And although the film worked for me, I knew it was going to not be for everybody. And clearly, Flickinger, whose opinions I respect very much as a reviewer, old school reviewer, he made it clear that it wasn't his cup of tea, that it felt a little one note, a bit of a stale SNL skit a little bit. Or he agreed with that assessment. And I disagreed. I thought it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I didn't feel the 2 hour and 20-minute runtime. I thought Pattinson was great in the film, playing the two characters, Mickey 17 and Mickey 18. I do understand some people's issues with Mark Ruffalo, and specifically Mark Ruffalo. Not a lot of people were negative about Toni Collette, but Mark Ruffalo is kind of out there in his performance. It's a bit of a character. It's almost caricature-like, except that the guy is pretty brutal. He has insecurities. He has some lack of self-confidence, and there are some vulnerable moments with him near the end of the movie. So there's more to him than you might think. But I do understand that some people, maybe it wasn't their cup of tea, or maybe the humor didn't work for them, because it is a certain kind of humor in terms of the approach they're taking with the movie. But I did like it, and I want to see it again and have some fun with it again. And so I don't know how many of you went to see it, how many of you liked it or didn't like it, but 79%, that's not bad on Rotten Tomatoes. A B cinema score is higher than Captain America: Brave New World, which had a B-. So I think Pattinson and Bong Joon-ho have put together an interesting film. And I think Naomi Aki is damn good in the movie as well. And it was nice to see her kind of have a little fun with a role like that throughout. And Toni Collette's very fun through the film as well. But like I said, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. So this thing being a blockbuster hit, I don't think it was ever going to be a blockbuster hit. And certainly Jeff said what he saw at CinemaCon last year had him feeling like this was going to be one of those ones that didn't quite blow up the box office. So $200 million in essence is what they spent on this thing. And I agree. I don't think it's going to somehow find these consistent legs like Elemental or The Greatest Showman and have this long run here to turn a profit. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of people championing this movie as loudly as there are a lot of people putting it down. So I think in the end, it's not going to get across. Plus, I think a lot of people really are exhausted with the political nature of things. And clearly they made the villain in the film have some connections to a certain somebody. And maybe some people don't just want to sit in the theater and endure that, because they already are enduring it every day. And other people who are fans of that particular political leader certainly don't want to go into a theater and have him being made fun of. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't when it comes to the box office with a film like this. So, but again, I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun, but I know it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And I like Toni Collette, as you mentioned there, Calvin. So yeah, well, we'll see. And Novocaine, right? Novocaine has me worried now it'll flop too. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to see Novocaine tonight, so I will have an out of theater reaction on my channel tonight. By the way, my channel, The Outlaw Nation, which you guys can subscribe to. We just crossed 37,000 subscribers over the weekend, which is really great. Step by step, piece by piece, building it as much as I can and getting it to where I want it to be. yeah, well, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll do well, but Novocaine doesn't have a $200 million budget, so it's not needing to break the box office bank in order to do well. But I think people like Jack Quaid. People enjoy his stuff. So hopefully this will be one that kind of gets across the finish line for people. He's got a lot of movies coming out over the next few days, right? Or next few weeks, rather. And I got an email for a new film he's doing with Jeffrey Dean Morgan that is exploring a murder, so more of a drama. So, shout out to Jack Quaid, who's doing amazing stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing more from him for sure. Let's see here. What else have we got to talk about? All right. Well, I guess we've delayed this. Well, here, hold on. Collider wrote up something on Mickey 17 breaking a major record. Let me look through it real quick. It has grossing. Okay. So 19 million opening was enough to set a record for director Bong Joon-ho. So Mickey 17 is Bong Joon-ho's highest grossing weekend ever at the domestic box office in his career. So not even Parasite, which earned $3 million at the box office. Oh, sorry. This record previously belonged to Parasite, which earned $3 million at the box office during its 20th weekend in theaters, 2 weekends after it became the first foreign language film to ever win Best Picture. So at least that's a positive for Bong Joon-ho that this was the highest grossing weekend ever at the domestic box office for one of his films, and that was Mickey 17. So, that's a pretty cool situation there. Snowpiercer did 82 million globally, right? And then Guano was 92 million. Parasite ended up with $253 million globally. I don't know if Mickey 17 will get to $253 million globally because, no one's talking about this one as a possible best picture. So that'll be the shame in the end. But hey, something to hold on to. All right, let's get into the controversial part of the show. Let's do it. Let's bring it up. Let's talk about it. Let's not be afraid. Let's take a look at this situation here. So reports came in over the weekend about Papa Isiudu, and I hope I'm saying that right. It looks like he is definitely going to be Severus Snape. This was according to, I think this was initially broken by Boris Kitt on The Hollywood Reporter, but Nelly Andreva is following up here. Oh, let me get out of this. HBO is closing in on 2 more main cast members for its high-profile series adaptation of the hugely popular Harry Potter fantasy books. Oscar-nominated actress Janet McTeer is in negotiations to play Professor Minerva McGonagall, sources tell Deadline. Now, Janet McTeer, for those of you who watched The Old Man, the second season of The Old Man, Janet McTeer is the British actress who is John Lithgow's former wife and connection in the second season, the British woman there. And she's a fantastic actress who's been working for a few decades and delivering incredible performances. I think she was nominated for a Best Actress performance way back in the 90s, I think, for a film she did about a woman transcribing Appalachian music. And I think Aidan Quinn was in the movie. I cannot remember the name of the movie, but she was in it. I've always enjoyed her as an actress. So I think her as Minerva is a great casting decision. Additionally, Emmy nominee Papa Isiudu, one of the first actors identified for the series, is closing his deal to portray Professor Severus Snape. I hear, Nelly hears, but Boris Brogan, they are poised to join John Lithgow, who has Deadline Report exclusively will be playing Professor Albus Dumbledore. HBO declined comment, said, "We appreciate that such a high-profile series will draw a lot of rumor and speculation as we make our way through pre-production. We will only confirm details as we finalize deals." Any more about this? Okay. Yeah, Francesca Gardner, who I broke the story on the hot mic that she would be the writer and showrunner of the series. She was asked about how faithful they were going to be the J.K. Rowling books. And she said, speaking at Max event in London last December, she revealed the series will stick to the canonical ages of Snape, who will be only 31, as well as the Dursleys, who will be much younger. And there's a lot of rumors that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is being looked at for the role that Fiona Shaw played in the movies. That explains the choice of 30-something Isildur for the role of Snape, the antagonist turned hero played in the Harry Potter movies by the late Alan Rickman. And McTeer is just a couple years younger than Maggie Smith was when she was cast as Minerva. So this all makes sense for it overall. Let's see here. Is there anything more on this? Because I want to hit something else. Janet McTeer and Isildur's return to HBO. McTeer was played Winston Churchill's wife in the HBO film Into the Storm. Isildur starred as Kwame opposite Michael Cole in the series I May Destroy You. There you go. As I mentioned in The Old Man. All right, let's Tumbleweeds. Right, she got nominated for Tumbleweeds, which also won her a Golden Globe. I remember that. And Albert Nobbs. She's going to be in Mission Impossible, the new film coming out as well. So, all right, so let's get out of this story, and I want to bring up. Let's bring up this story. We're gonna dive into a little bit of the controversy here, and talk about the breakdown of why people were upset about this, because people were upset about this. You know that replacing a white actor with a black actor was clearly going to get people get their fingers going and their tongues wagging. So let's confront it straight on, and let's talk about it. And I'm open to all the opinions on this, so I am just bringing this up for us to discuss. Make sure you all can follow along. All right, let me actually go one more in. All right. The HBO Harry Potter series started pulls cast together, Popeye, see you do, all of that. Right. The casting has set up a long string of controversies from many different sides of Harry Potter fandom, or even outside of that, for multiple reasons. On social media, the reactions range from the following. Severus Snape is supposed to be far from traditionally attractive, and Isildur, star of Gangs of London, which I've watched. If you guys aren't watching that, I think that's on Max now, or Netflix, one of the two. Both seasons are up there. You guys can enjoy that. And I May Destroy You is certainly conventionally attractive. It almost feels like they'd force him to wear loads of makeup or even prosthetics to fit this role, which seems somewhat baffling. I think that's a fair criticism, because Severus is supposed to have been this nerd that wasn't that attractive and was bullied by Harry Potter's dad, by James. So that's an interesting approach, because I see it as a pretty attractive dude. So in addition to his looks, Severus Snape is also described as the following in the Harry Potter books when he's introduced. Snape is described as a thin man with sallow skin, a large hooked nose, and yellow uneven teeth. He has shoulder-length greasy black hair which frames his face, and cold black eyes. So Isildur is certainly a departure from that for multiple reasons, including his race. Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, let's move on. Obviously, Isildur is black. While being black or white may not be inherent to Snape's character, Potter fans note that this will set up situations like James Potter bullying a young black kid in the 70s, which are certainly not good optics and totally change the dynamics of the James Lily Snape storyline. So let's talk about this, because I saw a lot of people opining on this, and I'm gonna walk into this minefield. I'm gonna try not to step on any mines. Well, I gotta take down Miley. I can't have Miley while I'm talking. So people get bullied. It doesn't matter. I was bullied by a lot of white kids growing up through a majority of my life as a young adult into my teen years. Not even young adult, like in my 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old years, I was bullied. I'm Latino. It happens. White people were bullied. Black people would have been bullied. So white people have been bullied by black people. If you go to a certain school, like this idea that you can't be bullied, and the optics of being bullied because you're a black kid and a white kid is bullying you, like bullying happens. And it's irrelevant of race. It's irrelevant of anything. Sometimes irrelevant of gender. I've seen, obviously, young girls get bullied by other girls, sometimes bullied by other young men, men sometimes bullied by girls. It's happened. And so this idea of bullying being only provincial to it should only be white on white, I think is a little bit ridiculous. Now, can you explore, if you don't make the bullying racial, then the bullying is about being a nerd or not being a nerd, being cool or not being a cool guy. That's an element of it that you can have. You know what I'm saying? And so I do understand that they are maybe in a bit of a corner because you cast a black man to play this. So if you're going to have flashbacks, if you're going to have conversations about being bullied, it adds a whole element optics wise that it's a white kid bullying a black kid. But the bullying is supposed to be about him not being cool enough, him not being part of their crew because he's a bit of a nerd or a antisocial guy or someone who's an introvert. And so James was always a dick for bullying Severus. It doesn't matter that he's white or black or purple or yellow or green or brown. Like, the bullying is the important part of it all, right? So I do understand people's concern about the optics, but I also think that we're coming to a place now where we're much more circumspect, mature, have more perspective on these situations where we can be okay with this aspect of it all. And it doesn't have to be racial. And I know that some people will be like, well, how could they do that and not address the racial aspect of it all? It could happen. And then you can address it in a certain way where it's not seen as it, especially if the crew, James's crew is a diverse crew. If they go with other actors who are of different colors being part of his crew, a bit different skin color, being part of his crew, then it doesn't necessarily have to be racial. So these are the things that I think are where we get too scared now. I think we have to walk past this. You know, those are the days of a few years ago, and we have to have a little more perspective on these kinds of things and be open to see. I think we have to be open to see a black Severus Snape, and we also have to be open to realize that the bullying aspect doesn't have to be racial in its approach or in its genesis. And so I think that's, or its foundation. So I think that's an important thing to consider when you're looking at it. You know, and some of you may be upset about this. Some of you may not be upset about this. I don't know, but that's kind of my point of view on this. I'm cool with a black Severus Snape. I got no issues with that. I mean, Shakespeare, you've seen people play all the Shakespeare roles from different ethnicities, different genders. I've seen a female Hamlet. I've seen a white Othello, which Patrick Stewart played famously in DC decades ago. I've seen Shakespeare characters played by different genders, different ethnicities, and all of that. So, what Harry Potter can't possibly be a different race or different. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. You have to be open to see different interpretations and have great actors. And Papa Isidu is a damn good actor. This isn't someone they found on the street and were like, let's just put in a black guy in the role. This is a damn good actor. And so let's see what we can do with this. So I like the approach there. And on the other side, I also think the bullying doesn't have to be racial. So if you're going to make it racial, then that's an element of the book that is not in there. Right. And so I think that's where you're maybe going too far. So let's explore it from a different point of view. This, of course, also leading to culture war issues. Potter fans or even non-Potter fans that just want to latch onto this are very much using this as another example of DEI, the latest country-spanning buzzword that in this case involves race swapping the character, a practice often bemoaned by this group in Hollywood. Yeah, usually they're grifting about it. And while there are some progressives happy with the attempted diversity, something the original story lacked, others have noted this feels more like a corporation trying to placate more liberal fans who are upset with J.K. Rowling's now long history speaking against transgender issues. Outside of this casting, their relationship with this series has had a huge dynamic change since the original books and movies. This is, again, Paul Tassi's breakdown, which I like Paul's stuff. This casting feels like a no-win for WB. His appearance as of now is not close to book accurate, and I think that's fair. Many conservatives will lament the change of the character's race. I don't think just conservatives. I think there are probably people who really love Harry Potter, irregardless of their political leanings. And I don't know how many 10-year-olds have political leanings or 12-year-olds have political leanings, and they see it a certain way. And so maybe it's not about conservatives. It's just people. Many people will lament the change of the character's race. Many progressives already have given up Harry Potter fandom based on Rowling, and this won't change their minds. I think that's a wrong thing to say for Paul to say many progressives already given up. Do you think that the Hogwarts Legacy game broke all those records because it was just conservatives buying the Hogwarts Legacy game? No, many progressives bought those Hogwarts Legacy games. I think to make it political in this way with Harry Potter is a little off base. I mean, the certainly the trans stuff with J.K. Rowling, that's a separate conversation, but to make this political, it's only conservatives and then only progressives. I think it's much more of a mix than I think Paul is presenting here. He says, but is this all enough to push away mainstream audiences? While that remains to be seen ultimately, I believe no, it won't. But there are no doubt going to be more casting controversies to follow. It seems exceeding like Hermione will be black, and that time the focus will be on a child actor. It's going to be a long 10 years. I mean, we'll see. I think we'll see. Also, how come there's no Latinos, for God's sake? Give me one Latino wizard in Harry Potter. I'd be happy on all of this. So, right, exactly. Rohit, exactly. I was saying that too. It's not just right wing. It's I think the Harry Potter fandom is a mixture of all sides, and not just progressives are like, yay, a black Severus Snape. I mean, I think there are a lot of, or not so, sorry. Yeah, exactly. And not just conservatives are like, no, I don't want a black Severus. I think it's a mixture. I think there are probably some conservatives who don't care that it's a black Severus Snape. They just want a good actor and a good project to come out of this whole thing, product rather. And I think there are progressives who don't like that it's a black Severus Snape, but don't want to say that because they like their Severus Snape in a certain way. And maybe they don't want to have the racial optics of it all, to have a James Potter, a character they care about, bullying a black Severus Snape. So that's a possibility too. So to just reduce it to conservatives and progressives, I think is very simplistic and reductive. And I think it's much more complex and challenging when you look at Harry Potter, because Harry Potter, people love Harry Potter. And look, for all the stuff with J.K. Rowling, Hogwarts Legacy was still a massive, massive game that blew the doors off of the amount of copies and the money that was made off that game, so much so that a sequel is coming. And then the books still sell. The books are still high up there. You're not telling me it's just conservatives buying those books. No, I mean, that's the thing that people forget. It's a much more complicated mix. And this idea of thinking only one side feels this only way and the other side feels this way, I think is a mistake, So I think there's much more nuance to this than people think, right? And this is, we're talking about the story, right? Like J.K. Rowling's points of views, those are something separate from the content of the books. The content of the books is what we're talking about. The changing of the character's race is what we're talking about. And I think we have to create space for both. We have to create space for them casting a black Severus Snape. And then we also have to create space with them not making the bullying racial. They don't have to make the bullying racial. That's not in the books. So I don't think there's a need to have that be an element of the show if they don't want to. And they have a right to construct the show as they see fit. So just throwing it out there for people to consider. Right. Matt said conservatives used to burn those books. Right. Was it Abbott Elementary? For those that watch Abbott Elementary, the most recent episode was in essence a version of the argument that conservatives initially had about the Harry Potter. Some of the hardcore religious, not even conservatives, some of this religious people, regardless of conservative or progressive, religious people had issues with Harry Potter because they were the magic and wizardry and all of that. And they thought that was pulling them away from religion. So Abbott Elementary had a version of that where it's a black wizard kid doing that. And they had an argument amongst the parents about whether that should be in the library or not. So, people need to be, I think and listen, I was guilty of this in the past as well. So I will put myself up on the in the fire as well, that, I used to see it a certain way. It's one side this and one side that. And I think over the last few years, as I've read stuff, as I've talked to more people, as I've seen things, as I've experienced things, my mind has changed on a lot of this stuff. And I'm much more past this whole need for representation, this whole need for this or that. And it's a much more of a fluid thing. And it's a case-by-case basis. And there are more people on your side than you think. And there are less people on your side from a certain point of view than you think. And that's what you learn as you kind of progress through this controversial thing we call race. So, and its approach. So, anyway, Bill Barclay says, isn't Snow White played by a black person? No, Snow White is Rachel Zegler, and she's Latina. So that is not, well, yeah, you are mistaken there, Bill. It is not a black person. All right. So that's, what do you guys think? Let me know. Send in your super chats. What are your thoughts on all of it? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Am I wrong on this? I want to hear from you guys. We have 18 super chats right now, and a couple more stories to get through. So please send in your questions, thoughts, and comments. I would, as I said, I would love to get to 70 to 100 super chats here, kind of show Christian Harloff that I can hold down the fort and talk about these topics, and that you all are interested in sending in support for the show and sending in support to me personally as I do all of this. So let me see. Let's get on to what else should we talk about here? I think we got the Harry Potter stuff. We talked the Star Wars Underworld stuff. Oh, let's move on to some James Bond. Let's do it. All right, hold on a sec. Let me once again share the screen, as once again I'm doing this on my own, y'all. All right, so let's do this. This is the next James Bond situation. Let me zoom in on this. And then let's put it to here. Yes, there we go. All right, so let's get rid of that one. Let's get rid of that one. Let's get rid of that one. And all right, let's make this bigger. Do you see why you need technical people to help you when you do stuff? Because it can be a lot. So, all right, James Bond, let's get to it. All right, the next James Bond should be British, Pierce Brosnan says. Actor Pierce Brosnan has said it is a given that the next James Bond should be British. In an interview with the Sunday Telegraph, the former Bond also said he thought it was the right decision, quote unquote, for the franchise's long-standing producers to hand creative control to Amazon. Brosnan said it takes great courage for them to let go. He's talking about Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson. Brosnan, who is Irish. I hope that Amazon handles the work and the character with dignity and imagination and respect. The choice of Daniel Craig's successor will be a decision for Amazon MGM Studios alone. James Norton, who I interviewed about this like 4 or 5 years ago, Aaron Taylor Johnson and Theo James, who are all English, are among the bookmakers' favorites to fill Craig's shoes. Bond has been played by 2 non-British actors in the past, Australian George Lazenby, as well, which I think is one of the best Bond movies on Her Majesty's Secret Service, as well as Irishman Brosnan, but 007 has never been an American. And among the names mooted for the role is California-born Austin Butler. Okay, I have to say this. I have never heard that Austin Butler is being considered for James Bond. That's a bit shocking for me. I know that over the weekend, Jeff posted Jeff Snyder on the Hot Mic posted a breaking story on his newsletter, theinsnyder.com, talking about Alfonso Cuarón as a possibility to be the director of the next James Bond, with David Heyman, who produced the Harry Potter movies for Warner Brothers in the past, coming over to take over the James Bond franchise for Amazon, bringing Cuarón with him. And I went the next step and said, well, Robert Pattinson, if the Batman Part 2 gets delayed even further, then things open up for Robert Pattinson, or God forbid, it never happens, which some people seem to believe, then Robert Pattinson being a James Bond would be really interesting, considering what I just saw in Mickey 17. That man is growing very strongly into his screen presence, and playing a James Bond would be interesting. I mean, how many of you all saw Daniel Craig playing James Bond when you saw him in Road to Perdition? So you just never know. Other non-British names that have been suggested include Irish stars Paul Mescal, who was just in The Gladiator 2, Cillian Murphy, of course, who won the Oscar for Best Actor last year for Oppenheimer, and Aidan Turner, who was the lead in Poldark. For those who watched that Poldark, the remake of that series that was on British television and PBS for the last few years, and Australian Jacob Elordi, right? American Clint Eastwood once reportedly turned down the role, with the Hollywood legend previously claiming he was approached to take over after Sean Connery in 1967. But Clint Eastwood, James Bond, that's weird. According to Ian Fleming's novels, Bond has a Scottish father and a Swiss mother. And of course, we saw in the most recent James Bond that Blofeld is his half-brother. The Christoph Waltz character that he played there, of course, played by numerous other people in the past, like Donald Pleasance. Under the deal announced last month, Bond producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson will remain co-owners of the franchise. Brosnan told The Telegraph, history has been passed on, and I'm very proud to have been part of the history and the legacy of Bond and the movies I made with Barbara and Michael, it is not clear when the next Bond will be announced, and there's still no time scale for it. So interesting stuff there. I think there's one more story about this. Let me see if I can find it, because I know that it's not just Pierce who is talking about it. All right, see, I think this is the one under Yahoo. Let's bring up this one here, and I'll have to stop sharing and then share again. Okay, let's make this bigger. All right, so James Bond now under the creative control of Amazon MGM Studios following the buyout. But the Daily Mail newspaper reports that following speculation of how the 007 character will evolve with Amazon, an internal memo was circulated at the studio stipulating, quote, the spy will not change gender or nationality. James Bond has been under, we know all this, No Time to Die, speculation rife as to how Amazon will capitalize on its new property. The Daily Mail quotes an insider at the streamer explaining, there have been so many erroneous rumors about the future of Bond. Amazon is committed to keeping the spirit of Bond alive, and that means he has to be British or from the Commonwealth, and he has to be male. Other questions about the brand include the prospect of spin-off shows, prequels, and properties pushing the characters such as Miss Money, Betty Q, and M to the Fore yet to be addressed. So there you go. I mean, to me, I don't think that's an issue. You want to have the traditions of Bond, having him being British, having him being male, I think is a good thing. And look, we're in an age now where clearly the idea of turning Bond into a woman or or a person of color, I think that's still in play. It seems like, because they didn't say white male, they said male, and they said he had to be British. So there's a lot of people who are in consideration. Renee Jean Page wasn't even mentioned in that possibility for Bond. So of the list of people that they had up there. So to me, this is fine. I don't know why people would be upset about this. Who is clamoring for an American to play James Bond? Who is clamoring? I mean, I just don't understand. I don't think there's a lot of people clamoring for a female James Bond. We had a version of that already in No Time to Die with Lashana Lynch, who was damn good in the movie. But, some things just feel right to me. James Bond being British and male feels right. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I know Batman has been played by British people and Christian Bale, whatever, but I don't know. James Bond is so distinctly this, from Britain. Gotham is not a real city in the real world. Yes, it's a version of New York or Chicago or Pittsburgh or Detroit or wherever you want to put it, but it's not an actual city, And so with Bond, that's legitimately a British character from England, from Scotland rather, and what have you, but England based with MI6. Those are real world things. And so for me, I think I don't have a problem if they want to keep him British and male. I think it should be that way. There are so few British characters that are global characters that get to cross. I mean, we just talked about Harry Potter. That's one of those few British characters that are global and people know about and are distinctly British. So for me, that's how I look at it. I don't know what you all think. Do you all like the idea of having a British male Bond, or do you want to see a person of color female play it, or a woman play it, white woman play it, whatever? Do you want to see a woman play it? Do you want to see a person of color play it? Like, does it matter to you, or do you see it distinctly as a white British male? As I think they're implying or inferring by they don't say white, but it seems like that's the direction they might want to be going in. Would it bother you if we got another white male British Bond? Because I certainly wouldn't be bothered by it. Certain characters are certain characters, and they should play a certain thing. Like, look, the Michael B. Jordan Superman idea is a cool idea. Am I jumping to it and want to see it necessarily? Not really. I mean, Superman to me is a certain thing, and I'm okay with that being a certain thing. And if it's a white male playing Superman, I don't have a problem with it. Would I, as I said about the Severus Snape thing, I think everything is a case-by-case basis and your own personal taste and perspective. I don't need to see a black Superman. Need to see a Latino Superman. I don't need to see any of that. I know what Superman is. This is what I grew up with Superman being. Now, I'm much older than people in their 20s, not much, but a little bit older than people in their 20s. and 30s, and maybe they're like, I want to see a black Superman. I want to see a Superman that's much more reflective of what I see in my society. And then more power to you. Let's see it. I'm always open to it, but it doesn't mean that I necessarily think it should be this way. By the way, I mean, we just had, if you've watched the Spider-Man's animated series that just finished up there on Disney Plus, which I really loved, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, the idea of Coleman Domingo playing Norman Osborn, I love this idea. Like, there is a situation, again, case-by-case basis. Do I see Coleman Domingo as a Norman Osborn? Hell yes. You can race swap that, and for me, that works because Coleman is a damn good actor, an Oscar-nominated actor recently for Sing Sing. So him stepping into play Norman Osborn is fascinating. And look, there wasn't much of anything about him being black in the show, and I like that idea because we're seeing people from multiple ethnicities achieving success, achieving riches and wealth, and can be evil with what they do with that money. So to me, you got to be open to it all and seeing what they do with it. So, all right. So there we go. That's my thoughts on that situation. I want to hear what you guys think about the James Bond situation as well. We've got 22 super chats. I'll do one more story and then we'll jump into them. And I would love it if you guys sent some more super chats in as we go along. The last story I want to talk about is a Marvel story. I sent it to the boys this morning because I do want to talk about it. And you guys know that Electric State is out, I think, on Netflix, and it is getting destroyed. The reviews are so much worse than Mickey 17 or anything else that people are, or Captain America Brave New World. It has like 18% on Rotten Tomatoes, I think, at this point. Let me take a look at that real quick. The Electric State, rather. Let me see what the score is on it. It is 23%, on Rotten Tomatoes with 22 reviews total from critics. So no, it's coming out. I guess it's coming out this Friday, but it's been already destroyed pretty much by the critics. David Ehrlich on IndieWire said there isn't a single laugh or even a knowing smile to be found in this relentlessly stale ordeal. Peter Bradshaw said there's no soul, no originality. Pete Hammond liked it, who also liked Captain America Brave New World. He said, shout out to movement choreographer Taryn Notary and VFX supervisor Matthew Butler and his team for the seamless blend of CGI, VFX, and animation. My friend Tessa on Mama's Geeky, she liked it. Billy Bobby Brown once again proves she shines as a lead. It's not a perfect movie by any means, but it isn't terrible either. It's cute, fun, and it made me cry. But Courtney Howard at Variety said directors Joe and Anthony Russo surprisingly undervalue their source materials. Blueprint, turning author Simon Stollenhag's salient bleak thriller into a whimsical, sanitized mess of mimeographed ideas from a handful of far better cinematic inspirations. And Christy Puchko, who I love to read, said the Russos turned a junk pile aesthetic into a trash movie. Wow, there you go. Very clear about her points of views on that. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because there is some talk here going on about why Christopher Marcus is not back to join McFeely in writing the new Marvel movies that are coming out with the Russo brothers. Again, there we go. Let's look at what we've got here in his quotes about it, because he tells you why. Because a lot of people are asking, why isn't Christopher Marcus writing this? Why isn't Marcus and McFeely back together to write the Endgame and Secret Wars movies? Well, he addressed this on the red carpet and in interviews. All four, he's saying Joe and Anthony Russo, the directors, and Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, all four also have their hands in the production company AGBO, which produces the Extraction franchise, which I loved both of those movies. Yet, surprisingly, one of those writers, Christopher Marcus, is not involved in writing the next two Avengers films, which are about to head into production. At the time, no reason was given for why Marcus was opting out and leaving all the duties due to his former partner, McFeely. But the Discourse podcast spoke to Marcus during the promotion of The Electric State the other day, and he says it all came down to a personal decision of his. He said, magic. It's the simple fact of opportunity, really. When we started AGBO, part of the imperative was let's look for things to adapt ideas of our own. And by luck or preference, I wound up with a whiteboard full of things, 2 series of books that we had optioned, a spec script, about 3 or 4 other ideas, and a TV pilot that was there to be written. And this was prior to all that avenging coming on the horizon. But it got to the point where it was like, look, I need to grow these plants or they're going to die. And Marvel is extremely full time. And so I just said, let's just everybody be under the understanding that this is what I'm doing because those movies need a brain on them. They need a guide, and I love them. So when it came avenging time, I mean, you don't avenge part time, you don't do anything Marvel part time. That is a years long commitment. And then he was asked if he's doing any minor or unofficial consulting on the films, and he says he's completely hands off. He said, I'm not doing anything with Marvel right now because, one, they know what they're doing, and also it was just like, well, these things will die, and I've got a pilot at Netflix, a pilot at Amazon. I've got 9 books that need to be turned into a masterpiece, and you just make a choice at some point and say, I've done that. I haven't done that. I think right now I'm going to do the thing I haven't done, which is the thing that keeps you alive and sparking. As a creator, he also spoke about how the MCU has changed since the team left, saying the films have become, quote, more like the comics and lacking the, quote, straight line narrative they had. So a bit of a shot taken there by Marcus about this current state of Marvel. It's an interesting quote because he's talking about all these things he wants to work on. He's talking about all these projects that he doesn't want to let die and these plants that he wants to work on. But you look at the numbers for everything they've done outside of the Marvel universe, and it is not pretty in terms of the Rotten Tomato scores, in terms of the reaction and the reviews. It has not been a positive overall reaction from the fans to their stuff. Let me bring up my brother Griffin Schiller's compilation of this stuff, and you take a look at this and you go, wow, the culmination of 5 years of grossly irresponsible budgeted filmmaking, ladies and gentlemen, the Russos. Right, here we go. It was 10% when he posted this on March 7th, 3 days ago. It is now up to 23% with 22 reviews. There, the Electric State. The Gray Man, 45%, although it does have a 90% audience score. 37% for Cherry, with a lower audience score of 72%. These are the films that they've done outside of the Marvel universe, and as my brother Griffin Schiller said, it has not been pretty to see the reactions to the Russo stuff. So you have to ask yourself, like, what is this all about here with them? And is Marcus making the right choice to not join Steven to do this stuff? Because clearly they're not successful doing their stuff. And you know, the Russos outside of the Marvel universe. So this is an interesting situation because AGBO, I think, produced all of those films. So you go, well, all these things you're talking about, this 9-episode thing. Oh yeah, 21 Bridges. That's another one. Good one to bring up. That's another one. Let me see if we can bring up all these things. I'm not going to bring them up on screen, but I will read them and see what the responses to them are. Let's see here. McFeely. All right, so he's listed for so Electric State, The Gray Man, Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, Agent Carter, The Winter Soldier. All right, so Thor: Dark World, Pain and Gain, which is the Michael Bay film. I like that film. He did the Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian, and the Lion, the Witch, the Wardrobe, which we are getting a remake of. That's what McFeely worked on. So part of the Russo stuff that they've done outside of the Marvel universe is through Marcus and McFeely. And these movies have not been received well. Electric State, this is Marcus. The Gray Man, not received well. And then the Agent Carter series was canceled, I think, a season and a half into that series. So yeah, Marcus and McFeely worked together on a lot of these things. The original Chronicles of Narnia movies, they were a part of as well. So outside of the Marvel universe, you don't have the same kind of response to their films. Electric State, Gray Man, Pain and Gain, which some people don't like, Chronicles of Narnia, I mean, You Kill Me, I thought was a really fun film with Ben Kingsley and Tay Leone. If you guys haven't seen that one with Luke Wilson as well, is really funny. They're working the toll booth. And they did The Life and Death of Peter Sellers, which was an interesting, well-received HBO film with Jeffrey Rush as Peter Sellers. But yeah, just about everything outside of the Marvel Universe has not received the universal acclaim as their work has done inside the Marvel Universe. So if I'm Christopher Marcus, I might want to rethink this idea of not being part of the Marvel Universe, because clearly the stuff I'm doing outside of the Marvel Universe recently has not done well. And so does this make you guys question things, though? Like, we're looking at the Russos coming back, and you look at all the stuff they've done outside the Marvel Universe, clearly not pretty in terms of the response from the critics and some of the fans. Marcus and McFeely, stuff outside the Marvel Universe, not always the best. So do we think they can recapture the magic, or does this make you afraid that they might not be able to recapture the magic like they did in the past? So to me, this concerns me on so many levels. When you look at them coming back, I mean, people coming back. Look, JJ came back to do Rise of Skywalker. How did that work out? There's a long history. John G. Alvinson came back to the Rocky franchise after directing the first Rocky film, and he did Rocky 5, and it was horrible. So just because the Russos are coming back, and just because Stephen McFeely is coming back, it doesn't mean that we're going to get a great Endgame or a great Secret Wars. So there are concerns. And the fact that Marcus doesn't want to come back, I wonder if Marcus is not telling us, but is maybe, if you read between the lines when he's talking about what Marvel movies are like now and the new regime's approach to it. I mean, Feige's still there, but there are other people who've been changed out. Does he see the writing on the wall and doesn't want to be part of where they're going? Maybe he's not 100% on board with what they're going to do. It's an interesting question, because you can always come back to these projects. And I would argue if you do another run through the Marvel Universe and you're successful with Endgame and Secret Wars, you would have more cachet as you go and do these other projects outside the Marvel Universe. Companies might be more willing to, studios might be more willing to give you money. Actors might be more willing to work with you, directors, producers, what have you. So writers, rather, all this stuff. So I don't understand the logic of it all. So it's very odd that he didn't come back. It's very, very odd that he didn't come back. And I see and hear what he's saying. There are other projects. We have a production company. I get it, but maybe there's something else going on. My nose tingles, Anyway, all right, there we go. This is the situation going on, I think, with all the things we talked about. So let's get into some super chats here. We have 24 as we start. So hopefully there'll be more to come as we go along. Send in your super chats. Let's hear what you got to say on all this stuff. Any questions you want to ask as we go through it. Big Bang OT4 says, could a mature tone Power Rangers reboot work? Well, we did see a Power Rangers movie a few years back. I don't mean the Becky G one. I mean, like, there was a fan film made that was very adult. And I think nowadays with a brand like this, it could be very interesting to go more adult, more mature. As McCallum said there, more complicated, more challenging, more sexy, more violent. I would absolutely see that with a Power Rangers film. And you would upset, the old school Power Rangers people probably. But if you want to get new people into it, we're much more a society that's much more open to brutal, violent, sexy, complicated, challenging things than we've ever been before. Big Mango T says, what Star Wars movie would you like to see? Well, let's do the Underworld. Let's take the best of those scripts, the overarching story that they were going to tell in Underworld. Let's make a movie out of that. You don't need 60 episodes or 60 scripts. There was an overarching story. Let's put that together and make a movie out of that. I think the Thrawn stuff, the trilogy, I would love to see. That would be an awesome situation. We are getting Thrawn in in Filoni's movie, but I would rather have seen the other stuff of how Thrawn came to power, his dealings with the Emperor. That kind of stuff would be really cool to see as well. My personal opinion. Ewok, what's up? Says, might WB do a big Potter cast reveal at Comic-Con? Yeah, probably. We're getting close to the point where we want I mean, if they're already casting the teachers, the students aren't far behind. So that to me tells me they are absolutely maybe going to do a reveal at Comic-Con for the Pottercast, and it probably won't be any kids we know. It's probably all going to be like unknowns, like it was with the original with Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson. So we will see. Mike Joyce, I never understand your complaints about movie theaters. Have you tried going to different theaters or different times of the day? Maybe I'm just lucky. Yeah, Mike, I have. Mike, I've gone to more movie theaters than you have in my entire life, buddy. More movies, more of that. And I know my experience. And the truth may be also, Mike, on the other side, that I want an experience that is very tailored to me, which means nobody talks during the movie. Everybody just enjoys the film, reacts to the film, does not open candy in the middle of a death scene or an emotional scene in a movie, and doesn't fall asleep, and isn't loud. Those are those things that for me, I've discovered multiple times. I mean, even went to see, what did I go to see recently? When I went to see Mickey 17, two rows back behind me during a press screening, talking through half of the movie. So, it's just those things that you see. I think the etiquette is different. I don't know where you live, Mike. I don't know what theaters you're going to, but the etiquette has changed a lot, at least where I'm at. Sean McCabe says, Roka, good to see you, buddy. You too, buddy. Thanks for covering. No, I'm doing my best. It's hard. It's hard to walk in Christian Harloff's shoes, but I do my best here, subbing it. J&B said, like Vogel said, Roka just wants to see the light extinguished from Jin Urso's eyes. I mean, I do like a little bit of R-rated stuff in my content. I do like it. I'm an older person now, and I like to see that kind of stuff. I like to explore it. Doesn't mean I don't also enjoy the cuter stuff. I mean, I really like Skeleton Crew for the most part as a series. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man didn't have too much violence in it, and I really enjoy. Although there was one episode that was pretty kind of brutal, but overall, I do like the kind of stuff. So yeah. Al Rencha says this Scrap series sounds 10 times better than anything Lucasfilm has done, excluding Force Awakens, The Mandalorian Season 1, and Rogue One. I agree, y'all. I mean, I think this series was pretty cool from the way it's pitched. And when I was doing research on it years ago, I remember being like blown away about how George was going to approach this. And if you watch that 10-minute video, which is still up on YouTube, I think it was Heritage Studio who did it. The first 5 minutes is actual footage, concept footage that they wanted to use. And the other 5 is like them talking behind the scenes about how they made it happen. And it does get you to wonder what could have happened if they put this together. Yeah, I agree. This is a good comment you make, Al. And listing Force Awakens, Mandalorian Season 1, and Rogue One, that's pretty much been the best. And Andor Season 1, I think, has pretty much been the best of Star Wars since the Disney takeover. DJ Case, thank you, DJ. Thank you very much. Justice Seymour says, Daredevil unlocks my political angst. Stay cool. Well, yeah. I mean, if you're going to come for Mark Ruffalo in Mickey 17, and you're not aware how much of the stuff the Kingpin has started the process of doing mirrors a certain somebody currently in power, just you wait. Haven't seen the whole season. There are more similarities to come, and so just letting you know before you watch the Daredevil Born Again series that there is much more to come from Kingpin that will mirror stuff you've seen in our daily lives recently. I'm Two Fly Cam says, sending support, John. Thank you. Star Wars is just irrelevant at this point. I'll be watching Andor, but I'm going to have to beg my friends to watch. Really sad to see. Yeah, I hear that from a number of people, including Christian, who said that recently as well. And I just don't agree. I don't feel the same way. I think it's not irrelevant. I think people do want to see good Star Wars. And if they're able to be successful with it, I think people will come back in droves to the franchise and enjoy Star Wars. So I don't think they're irrelevant. I just think people are much more suspicious, much more cautious about just running out and seeing the next Star Wars movie or watching the next Star Wars series. We want Big Cojones. Is he here? Oh, Big Cojones. I don't think Big Cojones is here because I can't do the visual. There's only so much technical stuff I can do here on the channel and on the show. So, well, we're at the half hour mark before we end the show. So keep sending in your super chats here. I got to run the ads again, do an ad block again, and after that, I'll be back to answer more of your super chat questions. So let's get into some Robinhood, some trade, and some factor for those of you who might have missed it in the first hour of the show.
Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%. Plus, you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. It's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account. Interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. All right, coffee drinkers. I'm sure you're like me. I start the morning and I need my coffee. I got to have 2 cups. That's what I do. Leave me alone. Don't bother me until I have my coffee. And for the longest time, I kept saying, I don't know. I don't like that bag of coffee. I don't like that one. That one's just decent. I have not been like that in a long time because I discovered Trade. And once I did, I'll never go back. It is a coffee subscription service that delivers freshly roasted coffee straight to my door. I love it. Trade is the #1 U.S. specialty coffee marketplace. It brings you fresh coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Every bag is roasted to order. You'll taste it. You smell the difference from your very first cup. It just lights up the room. I'm telling you, this is so fresh. I feel like a coffee connoisseur now after being with Trade for so long. I just dig the different kind of blends. There's things that I thought I would never like that I've tried and now I love. And you have such a great menu and things you can just browse on their site and they'll fit it right to your taste. It's brilliant. I love Trade. You guys know I do. I rave about it. It's like Christmas time every time I talk about Trade. Now, Trade is exclusively offering our listeners 40% off your first order at drinktrade.com/Christian. Did you hear what I just said? That's drinktrade, TRAD.com/Christian for 40% off your first order. drinktrade.com/Christian. Do not miss out on Trade. You will thank me for it. I promise. I've really been making fitness a priority lately, and I want to make sure that my nutrition is part of that. So I've been getting Factor, man. And Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating pretty easy. They're dietitian approved, and they're ready to heat in 2 minutes, so you can fuel up right then and there. No matter what life throws at you. The great thing about Factor, it arrives fresh and is fully prepared. It's perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. I can tell you it's been an absolute lifestyle changer for me. It's got over 40 options across 8 dietary performances on the menu each week. It's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. You can reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. So you want to eat smart with Factor. You get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use the code Factor Podcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That is code Factor Podcast at factormeals.com/Factor Podcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Factor.
There you go. Factor, Robinhood, and Trade. Important things to have in your life there. If any of those things appeal to you, use the code here on the Christian Harloff channel. Christian Harloff Show, rather, so you can get the discounts for yourself. Also, take this moment to remind you all that I'm on another YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/John Roca Says. That's how you find it. The Outlaw Nation, John Roca. We just crossed 37,000 subscribers over the weekend. I know some of you might say that's chicken feed, but other you might respect that. But I'm happy that we've crossed that mark, and we're marching towards 40 to 50 and hopefully 100,000 subscribers in the future. Would love for you all to come aboard. You know, we do all kinds of stuff there with the Hot Mic, the Jedi Way, the Geek Buddies stuff, my stuff. And you never know what else is around the corner. Maybe we'll get a Spill the Tequila reunion again with Winston and I, although Winston's been focusing on his stuff as well. But you never know. And so there's more to come on that channel. And there's some changes coming to the channel to reboot it, reinvigorate the channel. So please come aboard and subscribe there, youtube.com/John Rocha Says, and my podcasts, the Cinephiles, the Geek Buddies, and the Hot Mic, which are all separate feeds for you all to subscribe to, along with the Outlaw Nation podcast feed separately as well. All right, there's all the plugs. Let's move on to some more of your super chats, your comments. We're at 33 right now. Would love to get to at least 50 or 75 so that we can show Christian Harloff that, you know, me hosting the show is not a bad thing. And remember, this is a competition this week, so would love to have you all help me get there and compete with Roxy and Winston and Coy and Mike and Steph there early or later on this week. All right, Karen, what's up, Karen? Always good to see you. Karen says, "Hi, Rocha. Are you going to do a breakdown of The Last of Us trailer and show?" Thanks. No, not on this show, but perhaps on my show, my channel, I will be doing a breakdown and reaction to the trailer, maybe going step by step through it. Now, I haven't played Last of Us, the second one, so I probably won't get much of the references, but I might do some research and put together something there for a breakdown. But I will be doing reactions, and I will be doing reviews to Last of Us, probably with the Geek Buddies as it's coming close, because that trailer over the weekend was excellent, utterly excellent. Al Rensha in here says, "I would love to see Dan Lin head Lucasfilm or maybe team up with Favreau. He almost led DC Studios, and he has been in the movie business for a while." Yeah, Dan Lin, I think, wasn't he in contention for the Netflix job as well? I thought maybe he was in contention for the Netflix job. So it could be interesting. Could be interesting. Oh, no, DC, right. He was excited for DC. That's right. He's produced Sherlock Holmes, the Lego movie, the Lego movies recently, all the Sherlock Holmes movies, as well as It, and the live action Aladdin. So he's done a lot here for himself. Certainly could be interesting. A very well-known producer, not just in franchise stuff. He's also done The Aviator for Scorsese, The Invasion, Unaccompanied Minors, Matchstick Men, Torque. So interesting collection of films that he's been a part of here. It was announced that Lin would replace Scott Stuber as Netflix head of film in 2024, in February of 2024, reporting to Chief Content Officer Bella Bajaria. So I think he's at Netflix now, unless you guys, am I wrong on this? I feel like he's at Netflix. If I'm off on this, let me know, but I think he's at Netflix. So let me know the deal. All right, Go Pal. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Go Pal said, "What's up, Go Pal? Always good to see you, brother. I thought the Snape casting broke a while back. Could not care less about his race. Don't know this guy, but word is he's good on other stuff." Yeah, the casting, the fact that they were looking at him broke a while back. They have signed him, is what the new news is. So he's officially going to be Severus Snape. They haven't announced it, but it's pretty much a done deal from what we're hearing from a number of sources there. Mike Joyce says, "Big NFL day. We get in a Game Time episode." No, but the Game Time is probably over. I will probably restart a sports channel myself. It'll just be me doing it for days like this, with DK Metcalf trade the Steelers, with Devontae Adams going to, I think, where'd he go? Devontae, where did he? I forgot where he went. Oh, to the Rams, and other moving pieces on free agency, like the Buffalo Bills signing Josh Allen to that massive new deal. So certainly there'll be a lot to talk about. But yeah, at some point I'm going to launch that, and it's going to be its own thing. A lot of me going solo is what's happening for me overall, not on the regular channel, but on other stuff, just to let you know, Mike. Gopal says, "I just saw a companion and a weird thing is stuck in my brain. Is it just me, or is the lead in Banditos on Netflix a dead ringer for Jack?" Wait, I don't know who's the lead in Banditos. Let me see who's the lead. Maybe you're right. Let me see here. Banditos on Netflix. Who is the? Oh, kind of. Yeah, I could see it. You're talking about, who are you talking about? Is it Alfonso? Are you talking about Alfonso Dosal? Yeah, I could kind of see it a little bit. Yeah. Maybe like a Latino version of him. Sure, I could see that. But I think Jack's slightly more attractive, is what I would say. Go Palace is watching the Harry Potter reactions on Rejects. It's hilarious. Rowling created the series about equal rights and acceptance while being who she turned out to be, and that kids who grew up with it would rebel. Yeah, I mean, this is life. People have their opinions and create the things. And remember, I mean, if you look at how Harry Potter, if you break it down, it's not like she created something supremely original here. You can watch numerous YouTube videos that point out all the things she borrowed from to create the Harry Potter franchise, a lot of similarities to successful franchises that she borrowed from and made this mix. But you have to say the mix worked and was successful. As someone who played a character from the Harry Potter world in for almost 2 years at Universal Studios in Hollywood, playing the Wand Keeper as part of the Wand Keeper show, you know, I have to respect the fact, and I've seen what that franchise and those books mean to people firsthand in the room, watching them react to my show in the room, watching them, having them come up to me later and talk about how much Harry Potter means to them. So, you know, she found the right mix, whatever you might say. And yes, the equal rights, acceptance, all that, but like, you know, it's the way it is. And what can you do? Creators, I mean, a lot of people felt like George Lucas had turned on the franchise after the prequel trilogy, for God's sake. So, you know, you just never know how people will be. I'm not comparing, obviously. He wasn't making any political statement. It was more like creators of shows aren't necessarily bound to be representative of their show. Memple said, do you think we will get Cena on Raw tonight? No, Cena's supposed to come back on SmackDown this week. So I think, yeah, this week or next week. Yeah, no, he's coming to this week. It's this week on the 15th. He's going to show up on SmackDown. So look for that, which is hilarious to me because we had a 7-week buildup when he turned heel. Now I think we're 5 weeks out, and now he's showing back up again. So you're only going to have a 5-week run-in with Cena as a heel to head into WrestleMania. That to me is so, again, I feel like this heel turn is so useless. And watching the WWE say that this is the number one heel turn on their Twitter account and YouTube video was hilarious, was like utterly laughable. There have been other heel turns that were much more poignant, much more reflective of the storylines that were happening. They weren't shoved in. This heel turn is shoved in. You know, you didn't build to it. There was nothing here. And nothing he delivers in the promo is going to do the work of what you could have done in a year-long build-up to this moment. They're going to retcon certain incidents. They're going to retcon certain actions to make it seem like this was the plan all along. No. The Shawn Michaels heel turn, the Hulk Hogan heel turn, the Seth Rollins heel turn on the Shield, those are all above this heel turn overall because of the story of it all. Hell, I would put in Macho Man turning on Hogan as a big heel turn, or Andre the Giant. I would put all 5 of those heel turns above the Cena heel turn. Yes, Randy had been a heel before, but you know, Randy breaking up the Mega Powers out of jealousy over Elizabeth, they did a great job building to that heel turn. And Andre was a shock. And I mean, Andre, I would argue, was way bigger than Cena as a baby face globally. So that when he turned on Hogan, of all people, it was a massive thing. So to even think that the Cena heel turn is in the top or top 5 is just, to me, ridiculous. If you've lived through all of those heel turns, I don't know how you can say Cena is in the top 5. Memple, okay, so you answer that one. Mir Gem Serenity Moon says support for you, John. Thank you, Mir Gem, and I love your picture there. That's a pretty cool picture, sitting out there quietly in the rain, which we're about to have again here in San Diego tomorrow through the week. So I'm looking forward to it because I love the rain. Fredtastic. Hey, Roka, what's up, Fred? James Potter was a good-looking jerk who was a bully, but I bet if the story went further, Snape wasn't the only guy he bullied. Right, exactly. And that's the thing. So he's an equal opportunity bullier. It's not about a racial thing. It's more a matter of status situation. And certainly I think that's going to be a fun aspect of the show to explore if they explore it. I'd be down to see them do that for sure. All right, we're up to 43. Let's go. Get me to 50. Get me to 75, y'all. I would really appreciate it here as I'm holding down the fort solo, ran the show solo. There's a lot of responsibility for me to run the show, so would love for you all to support me in any way, sending in the super chats to get me to 50 or 75. I will stay on as long as you ask me the questions, and you can ask me about anything. You can ask me about anything. I'm open to it all. Send it in, and I won't discount any question. I'm going to read them all, so send them in. Gopal, once again, back says, it's funny coming from the Irish Bond that the actor should be British. That's true, because Ireland is not Britain. If he wants to visit home anytime ever. Have you seen the clip of Cillian Murphy when an interviewer called him British? Yeah, I have. I've seen numerous clips. Hell, you can go back to the lead singer of Tin Lizzy. Some of you may not remember this, but the song, The Boys Are Back in Town, The Boys Are Back in Town, that group is led by a black Irish person. I think he's black, but he's a person of color. And he was called British by a number of American interviewers when they were blowing up on in the States. And you can see him pushing back on that, saying that he's Irish. He's not British. And so people make that mistake all the time. Certainly I've made that mistake years ago initially. And so once you learn the history of Britain and how insulting it is for some Irish people to consider themselves British, then yeah, you walk into those mistakes. And Cillian is not a wallflower. He'll tell you straight up what the hell the deal is there. James Carroll says, being that you served, yes, I served 8 years in the U.S. Army. I recently watched in theater a Gary Sinise produced Brothers at War with my father, who is a veteran. It spans about 15 years, the service of a group of Iraqi veterans. Real. Yes, one of my patrons and one of my people who is a big part of my Patreon on my channel hipped me to this film being out there. So for those of you who don't know, there is a film out there produced by Gary Sinise, Brothers at War, that profiles Iraqi war veterans and what they went through. And so this is, I think, an important film for people to watch. So if it's out there near your theater and you are into watching these kinds of things and respecting the people who served this country, I would highly recommend you all watching it. So thank you very much, James, for mentioning that here. Paolo Ortiz, thank you, Paolo. Sent that in. Thank you, Paolo. Good to see you. A big smile. Love the smile, man. Hello, Roca. Good morning from the Philippines. Hello, Paolo. Good morning here from America. Oh, no, actually, good afternoon here from America now. Hope you're enjoying yourself there in the Philippines, my friend. Let's see. We got some support from DJ Case. Thank you, DJ. Appreciate that. Michael McKenzie says, happy Super Mario 10th day. What's your favorite Mario game? Probably the original. Sorry, man. I'm not too deep into the Mario lore, Mario stuff, but I do. The first game I played before, and I like the Super Mario movie that came out, last year, 2 years ago. That was a damn good movie. So I'm a big supporter of that stuff. Can't wait to see the sequel for that. Peaches, yeah. Mirror Jam starting moves says, I cannot wait to see The Last of Us. I know. I'm in your camp too, Mirror Jam. I can't wait. That new trailer over the weekend, even more so. Let's make it happen already. Deep Mahmood says, should Garrett Cole just get Tommy John surgery? Yeah, but I also trust the Yankees to get to that point where they know they got to get him in there to do the surgery. You know, I think they're trying to exhaust all the options before they do the Tommy John surgery. So I trust that they'll do that. But yeah. Michael McKenzie says, hey, John, did you see the new Death Stranding 2 trailer? I know it's highly anticipated for you. What do you want the game to be? This looks bonkers. I've not seen the Stranding 2 trailer. I've got to watch it. I was catching up on stuff today. I haven't got around to seeing the new Death Stranding 2 trailer, so I will definitely watch it after this. I just want a good game that honors the original, man. I mean, what more can you say? I wanted to expand the world a little bit more. I don't want it to be necessarily listening to the fans. I want some creativity to it to walk their own path. And then when it debuts, I want it to knock my socks off. So that's what I would say with that. Thank you, Michael. Fredtastic, what's up, Fred? Says the prequels were such a miss for me that it made me appreciate the sequels more. James Bond may go the way of Terminator, no audience for it anymore. Oh, I don't think that's true. I think people have been trying to kill James Bond for years. I mean, the article that the Hollywood Reporter wrote, which if you guys haven't read, it's up on the Hollywood Reporter, exploring what went on behind the scenes in the deal that sold the franchise to sold the James Bond franchise fully to Amazon. They explore how much that thing was dead on the vine until Broccoli and Wilson revamped it with Pierce Brosnan. So I don't know how it's dead after those Daniel Craig movies, because the majority of them were really damn good. And so people are just waiting around. And if you cast the right Bond, I think people will be back on board. You know, everyone thought Jason Bourne was going to now put Bond out of existence. Well, that last Bourne movie wasn't good. And so, I mean, no one's clamoring for a new Jason Bourne movie. So that's, I think Bond will always endure. And yes, I hear you on the prequels. Although the sequels, I only like the first one and half of Last Jedi. I did not like Rise of Skywalker at all. Stephanie Litt says Wheel of Time season 3 premieres on March 13th. Season 2 was incredible. Yes, it is coming. Wheel of Time. I think that's the one with Rosamund Pike. So everybody get ready for some more badass scenes with Rosamund, who I think is great. Unheard Sirens Incorporated. Thank you, Remy. Says support for Roga. Thank you, Remy. King Sport Cow. What up, Roka? Not much. Just answering questions. Thank you, Calvin. Always good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well. Miss you on the stereo show, buddy. Sorry we haven't done that one for a while now, but it was always fun to hear your voice. Todd Lane says, hey, John, you are awesome. Thank you, man. Thank you. A lot of people, some other people don't think so. So I appreciate you saying that, Todd. Do you think that there will ever be a criterion of the original Star Wars? Woo! Wow. That is a great question. Man, you never say never, but I would be incredibly surprised. Because, I mean, they've already released them all in 4K. So here's what I'll say. I don't think there will be a criterion of the original Star Wars. Well, I would say trilogy. I'll add trilogy to this until George Lucas buys them back or Disney sells them, because Disney, more and more of these studios don't believe in physical media. I mean, people have posted pictures of themselves walking to Best Buys now, and there are these massive open areas where the DVDs and the Blu-rays and the 4K discs were, and they're not. There's nothing there now. So I think there will be, but it'll take another company to do it. It won't be Disney. So we may have to wait for another sale before we see those on Criterion. But damn, I would love it. Certainly interview. I mean, if they had done it before Carrie had passed, hearing Mark and Carrie and Harrison on a commentary track talking about shooting those 3 movies, 3 separate commentaries, that would be amazing, you know? Because you'll get Anthony Daniels. You can get Anthony Daniels for a quarter to talk about working on those movies. But I would love to have seen the 3 of them be on it. And James, before he passed, James Earl Jones, a commentary track with James Earl Jones talking about his journey as Darth Vader through those movies would have been amazing. Sean McCabe, what's up, Sean? Any plans for Army's 250th birthday? I might host some veteran debauchery come party with Artie. That would be awesome, man. Yeah, no plans right now other than, reflecting back, reaching out to some of my boys who I served with. But nothing big like that, brother. I'm not of the age to be going off and getting into debaucherous stuff now because it takes me a week to recover. So, but, knock yourself out, Sean. I hope it's a blast. If I lived closer to you, maybe I would roll on and hang out with you guys and go crazy, but we'll see. But yes, love to the Army, 250 years. Some of the best years of my life were in the service, so I got nothing negative to say about it, man. I loved it. Miss Dax D says, support Varoga. Thanks for keeping the show alive. Thank you very much. Did my best, man. Thank you. Miss Dax D became a new YouTube member. There you go. Shout out to you. Thank you for joining the Christian Harloff channel. Todd Lane says, what are your thoughts on Joe Hendry? I don't know. He might show up. I think he has a bright future, but I'm worried The Rock may not give him a chance while his character is hot. Oh my God. The Rock should have nothing to do with Joe Hendry and what's going on. That's going to be NXT. That's going to be Sean. Sean will handle Joe Henry really well, and then eventually up into the main roster. Do I think he's got the stones to make it in the main roster? Yes. Do I think it's creative dependent? Absolutely. I mean, look at Grayson Waller or Austin Theory. Do you even think about them anymore? And they were like, at one point, a lot of people felt like they could have had a really big impact, and they've kind of petered out. So it'll all depend on how they creatively book Joe Henry, whether he'll get over with the main crowd or not. We'll see. Mir Jam back again. Do you watch the series The Pit? Such a great show. I do. I watch it because my friend Shannon McClung is on the show. So he's a recurring character as one of the helicopter pilots bringing in the patients. So I do watch the show. It's an excellent show. It's such a great, great show. So highly recommend that on Max. Noah Wiley is damn good. Really grown into his age, Noah. It's kind of nice to see. Joey Pedras. What's up, Joey? I love your avatar, buddy. What 2025 horror film are you looking forward to? Ooh, great question. Let's take a look at this. 2025 horror films. Ding, 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 ding. What do you got? What do you got? 28 years later? Yeah, probably number one. Probably number one. They list Quiet Place 3. I don't think that's coming out in 2025, is it? Let's see. You know what? Let's go through Rotten Tomatoes and see what they got. Ash, Locked, Popeye the Slayer, man. Death of a Unicorn, Woman in the Yard. Oh, I hope Woman in the Yard is good. I've liked those trailers so far. Sinners, if it's a horror film, sure. I'm seeing the reviews for Drop. A lot of people like Drop, so I'm looking forward to that one. But probably 28 years later is probably my number one. I hate to cop out on that one. Oh, but I'll throw Final Destination Bloodlines in there as like my 1A because that trailer was awesome. And so I hope it's a good movie because I love those Final Destination films. Even the bad ones, because the ingenious kills are really funny. Todd Lane, I met Hendry. Yes. How would you book him? Would you send him to NXT? Oh, definitely NXT first. Definitely get him established in NXT first. Have him do some. I mean, him and some of those wrestlers on NXT right now would be amazing. So I would do that first, and then eventually the main roster after a few months. Maybe the Sami Zayn route. You know, Sami was in NXT for a little bit, and then boom, blow up on the main roster. That might be the blueprint for Hendry. Todd Lane, who is your favorite military veteran turned actor? Oh, all right. Damn. I don't have that one sitting on the top of my head. I know Riggle is a military veteran, right? Let me see here. Turned actor. All right. Celebrity veterans. Tom Selleck, for sure. Gene Hackman. How about Gene Hackman, who served in the Marine Corps, lied about his age, and got in at 16 years old to serve in the Marine Corps? Some of you don't know this. Drew Carey is a former Marine. B. Arthur served in the Marine Corps as well as a truck driver. Morgan Freeman was in the Air Force. Adam Driver, I think, is a former Marine as well. Mel Brooks was an Army specialist. So, yeah, those are some nice choices. Clint Eastwood, of course, was in the Army. You don't know this? Ice-T was in the Army's 25th Infantry Division after high school. He served 4 years. Put that on the table. Jimmy Stewart, James Earl Jones. So a lot of really great veterans. So, but I'd have to say Gene Hackman now because he was the one. He recently passed. So sadly, at 95. Michael McKenzie, hey John, 10 days till Assassin's Creed Shadow is out. Did you pre-order? I pre-ordered that last year from the original release date at my GameStop. But I'm going to get those $5 back because I'm going to go get it from someplace else cheaper. Because Costco sells these video games like $8 to $10 off. So I'll wait. Greeny from Oz says, just want to say thanks for your work on the Cinephiles. Thank you, Greeny. Just got me through many boring hours of work, especially the 3 episodes of Lawrence of Arabia. Yeah, that was a hell of a chore to do Lawrence of Arabia in a good way with me, Steve. And I think Rachel was our guest, Rachel Cushing, the Crusher. She was our guest for that show. So, yeah, I mean, that's so much fun. Thank you. We just did our Gene Hackman tribute, speaking of Hackman, over the weekend live on our Cinephiles YouTube channel. That was a really fun conversation with Steve. And then we just finished Mad Max Fury Road, 3 episodes of Mad Max Fury Road. Our guest was the producer of the What TF with Mark Maron podcast, Brendan McDonald, who joined us for all 3 of those episodes. It was a lot of fun. And next week we begin our season of the Coen brothers. So we will have a conversation about the Coen brothers and their movies and their influence on us. And then we're going to do Fargo and Miller's Crossing on the Cinephile. So for those of you who don't know, that's my podcast. It averages about 100 to 200, 150 to $200,000 downloads a month. And we've been doing that for 9 years. And we've broken down so many great movies. We go scene by scene through those films, me and my director friend from LA, Steve Morris. So if you haven't tried out the Cinephiles, highly recommend it. It's my most successful podcast that I do. Paolo Ortiz. What's up, Paolo? Good to see you from the Philippines again. Support Roca. Let's go. But I got to sleep. It's 4 a.m. here. Been watching you guys for a long time here and on your channel with the Geek Buddies. More power. Thank you, Paolo. Thank you, Paolo. Appreciate that, man. Hope you're resting well. Hope you're sleeping well. Kinsport Cal says, I forgot stereo was a thing for a second. Good times. It was. Alan Smith, he says, support for Solo Roca. Who would you play in Harry Potter? Hagrid. Oh, come on. It's not even a question. I would play Hagrid in a minute. I know other people want to play Severus or Harry or Hermione or who else is in there? Oh, my God. I'm drawing a blank on Gary Oldman's character. Severus Snape? No, not Severus. Prisoner of Azkaban. What's his? Oh, I forget his name. But they want to play those roles. No, Hagrid is who I would play 100%. Big old beard, large cloak, hanging out with the animals, coming in with the occasional lesson and sarcastic remark. Hell yeah. Robbie Coltrane did a great job with that character, and I would be honored to follow in his footsteps. Jason Ashcroft says, hey, John, agree completely with your points on Harry Potter. I'm a conservative, and I don't mind the casting for Snape at all. Also, I don't like JK's comments on trans. Yeah, not all conservatives are crazy. LOL. I agree, Jason. Yeah, I have to say, man, I've said this before. My opinions have been changing more and more. Doesn't mean I'm going to one side or another. It just means that I have much more perspective on it. I think there's more people in the middle than people want to believe. I think there's a lot of us in the middle who have conservative points of views and progressive points of views, and we just kind of have a mixture of them within ourselves. And I think there are more people on in that middle area than you might think, because both sides of the other areas scream so loudly. You think that's the majority, and that's the warring factions. I wish the middle was louder, but the reason we're in the middle is because we don't want to be that loud. So, so that's the situation there. But thank you, Jason, and I agree with you, man. I appreciate you and recognizing that. Shama McCabe say my recovery time ain't what it used to be either, but I'm a red leg. Damn it. It's going to be totally worth it. Go get it, Sean. Respect, brother. Respect to you, brother. Fred Tastic says loose cannons won't make cinephiles, but I liked it. No, it will not. The Gene Hackman, Dan Aykroyd movie. That is not a good movie, but if you like it, you like it. Everyone has their favorites. And Michael McKenzie, one more time. Any thoughts on Mark Carney as the new Canada PM? I guess my only thoughts are this. He came out very strongly for his country. Loving your country is not an American thing. It's wherever you're from. Plenty of people love their own respective countries and speak proudly about it. And the idea of having another country coming in to try to co-opt that country or try to turn that country into a state for itself, I think is a hubris and an arrogance that's unnecessary. So for me, I thought what he had to say was very strong, but I also imagine they elected him because he was going to say these things and have a point of view this way. So no surprise. And I thought he acquitted himself well in that introduction to the world. So shout out to him. And it's about time we kind of moved on from Trudeau anyway, right? He kind of overstayed his welcome. So I'm interested to see what Mark Carney brings as a representative of Canada. So we will see. All right. I think that's everything. All right. Thank you all so much. We didn't get to, we got one more here. Gopal, thank you. Getting us to 56. Thank you, Gopal. It says, I don't know what red leg means, except it reminds me of the outlaw Joseph Whale and Captain Redlegs. That was a great movie. Yeah. Who played Captain Redlegs? Wait, hold on. Let me look at that up here. Who played Captain Redlegs in the movie? I don't remember who played that in the movie. Let me see here. Oh my God, was it Was he named Captain Red Leg in the movie? I don't remember. I've only seen the movie twice, and it's not one I watched the most. No, I don't see it. Was he named something else in the movie, brother? I don't remember. Yeah, I don't see it here, so maybe I'll say. But anyway, a red leg is a field artillery soldier. That's what a red leg is. So that's the thing there. Go, pal. And Joey Pantheris, what's a place you always wanted to visit? Oh, was it Bruce Dern, Karen? It was Bruce Dern who played him. All right, cool. Thanks, Bruce. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. It says, what is a place you always wanted to visit? What's a place I always wanted to visit? It's a really good question. Tokyo. Yeah, I guess Tokyo. And it's ironic because I'm not going to Star Wars Celebration because we have another trip planned in our schedule for this year and I can't afford it. But yeah, Tokyo. Absolutely. Because I'm huge. I am an Anglophile, but I'm also a Japanophile. And so, like, I'm a big fan of the architecture and the culture of Japan. Certainly love the samurai movies. But like more, it's a matter of the overall ethos and the Eastern philosophy of Japan. So I'm a huge fan of that and watch a lot of Japanese movies and watch a lot of and read a lot of Japanese oriented books about that kind of stuff. So yeah, Tokyo is absolutely a place I would want to visit. So it'd be great. Thank you, man. Appreciate the question. Oh, we got more coming in. All right, guys, want to keep me on for a little bit. I appreciate that. Go, pal. Says Captain Quantrill, Quantrill's Raiders, maybe? I haven't seen it in a long time either. Yeah, so it seems like that's who it was. Bruce Dern. She said it was Bruce Dern. But wait, is Bruce Dern in the movie? I thought Bruce Dern was in the Cowboys. I don't recall that he's in the Outlaw Josie Wales. I'm looking through the cast. Yeah, I don't think he is. So, right. I think Bruce Dern is in the Cowboys. I don't see him in that. So, yeah, I don't see it. Maybe he is Captain Terrell. Oh, Bill McKinney. I guess Bill McKinney, maybe. DJ Case, favorite film. Oh, wait, no, sorry. Greenie from Oz. Any guesses on how they will book Rhea for WrestleMania? Your guess is as good as mine. I think maybe 5 people on the planet knew that Io Sky was, or would have guessed Io Sky was going to win that match. And Io is one of the 5, and Triple H is probably one of the 5, and Rhea's one. So maybe 2 other people believed that she was going to win that match. What a shock. She is now the champion. Rhea's reign was like, 57 days? It wasn't that long. So I think they're going to find a way to book her into it as a triple threat with her and Bianca. It's got to be. I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand doing that. So are they going to have 2 triple threats? Will it be Reigns, Rollins, and Punk in one triple threat on Sunday, and then maybe Rhea, Bianca, and Io on Saturday, or reverse it? I don't know. It's questions. Maybe the Roman Reigns one is on Saturday because I think he's going to interfere in the Cody Rhodes match to help Cody defeat Cena. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. DJ K says, what favorite film so far this year? Ooh, what are my favorite films so far this year? Let me see here. 2025. Because sometimes I forget films, because we see so many things. All right, this was dropped on March 6th. So, oh yeah, Last Breath is out in theaters now. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Companion is good. No, I haven't seen that. Grand Theft Hamlet. I didn't see Den of Thieves 2 yet. So yeah, maybe do I have any films that are? Let me see what's come out. 2025 in film. Let me see the American list of American films. No. Wolfman was okay. Henry Danger. No, I didn't see Wish You Were Here. Flight Risk. Hell no. Flight Risk came and died, right? Like that was insane. Inheritance. No. Into the Deep. Failure Course Divided. No. Dogman, Companion. Kind of Hard Eyes, Love Hurts, I Love You Forever, When I'm Ready, The Witchers, Bridget Jones, Brave New World, no. The Gorge, I still have to see. I haven't seen that. The Monkey was not that good. The Build Out, Last Breath, Riff Raff, My Friends. Oh, shit. There might not be anything. Honestly, there might not be anything that I can 100% say is my favorite film of 2025 yet, because there have been some fun films to watch or good films to watch, but there hasn't been anything that's kind of blown up and become my favorite film. So let's see here. Gopal says, turns out Quantrill was a real life trader and Red Legs was Union, so it must be that guy you found. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, Companion, Hard Eyes, and Novocaine. Well, Melissa, I'm going to see Novocaine tonight, so I don't know. I'm going to see that tonight, so maybe Novocaine will jump to the top of my list for sure. So we'll see. Stephanie says, LOL, I'm slow. LOL, did a chroma. Oh, I know all you're talking. Oh, is some people, yeah, people are going to come in and cause drama, I guess. All right, that's it. Let's wrap it up. 61 super chats. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that madly. We got to 60. I was hoping to 75, but hey, we got to 60. I will take it for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you had a good time with me here. I know I'm not Christian Harloff, but I hope you still enjoyed the show. Anyway, we covered a bunch of topics and all of that. So, as for those of you watching later, please make sure you leave your comments down below. Leave your thoughts on all the things we talked about here. What are your thoughts on the Harry Potter stuff and the casting for Severus Snape? What are your thoughts on the Marvel situation with Christopher Marcus? What are your thoughts on the Star Wars Underworld series and the James Bond situation? Let me know all of it in some of the comments that were made through the super chats. Let me know your thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. One more time, a reminder to head on over to my channel, youtube.com/John Rocha Says. I put out content almost every day for you all to enjoy and watch and have some fun with. Sometimes I go live, sometimes they're pre-taped. All depends on the situation. But we have the Geek Buddies, the Hot Mic, the Jedi Way, my stuff. All of it is there on my channel, youtube.com/John Rocha Says. Follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky, and my podcast, the Hot Mic, the Cinephiles, and the Geek Buddies, which are all separate podcast feeds, and the Outlaw Nation Podcast Network is its own separate podcast feed. All right, thank you so much. You guys are amazing. Much love to all of you. I'm sure Christian is back tomorrow, and I'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of the Christian Harloff Show, and I'm going to play the video as we get on out of here if I can find it. I think it's here somewhere. All right, here we go.